You've had Matt Gaetz, who's under investigation for sex trafficking a child. You've had Madison Cawthorn, who reports say that he forced women to stay in his car and harass them when he was in college. Now at least one person who was at college with him, a woman, young woman, works in the house and has to see him in the hallways and deal with him. Kevin's done nothing about that. Jim Jordan, former Ohio wrestler, said he knew about and ignored sexual abuse by a team doctor. He's done nothing. Lauren Boebert, who's just weird and who's out there refusing to go through the house metal detectors and displaying guns openly. Mo Brooks, Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, all named by Ali Alexander as helpers in plotting the insurrection. Nothing, 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 nothing. Your thoughts?
Well, what those individuals that you showed and Kevin McCarthy knows is two things. One, they're going to raise a lot of money off of their stupid. And two, they're going to hold that base in place so that as they get ramped up for the upcoming election cycles, they've got that terra firm, ground to stand on to launch what they think is going to be a takeover of the House next year. So that's what's driving a lot of this. They're not looking to do the correct thing because the correct thing has no political upside to it. I mean, this is all politics. This has nothing to do with what the congressman would like to have a big debate on the floor about the infrastructure bill. Or let's talk about the John Lewis Voting Rights Act so that, we can all come to an accommodation to get voters to the polls. None of that's going to take place because there's no money in that. You can't grift that. That requires an honest discussion with your political opponents who may have a different approach or a different way of solving some of these big questions. So this is about power, 2022, getting back control, and about money. Marjorie Taylor Greene runs her flap, says the most asinine, ass-backwards, stupid crap on the planet, and raises $3 million.
But Michael, let me ask you this.
And they look at that and go, okay, is that what you do? Okay, we can do that.
And they'll do it, but power for what? And this is what I want to ask you before I go back to the congressman, because they say that they want to have, they clearly, not even say, but it's obvious that they just want power. But power to do what? I mean, Steve Scalise was revealed to have called himself David Duke. It's not me who called him David Duke. He called himself David Duke without the baggage and got elevated to leadership. Steve King, it took forever to run him out after him being openly white nationalist, just openly, and saying there's nothing wrong with being white nationalist. Power to do what? Do you talk to these people behind the scenes? What is it that they want to do with this power? Because it seems to me like all they want to do is fall on their knees and worship Donald Trump.
Well, that's all they can do right now. But you've got a running narrative going back to 2012 at least, where once you grab control of the House and you start that process and go down the road. Okay, so what's your health care plan? What's your infrastructure plan? Remember, it was infrastructure week for almost 2 years, right? So what are the big items that you philosophically want to moor yourself to go and have a conversation with the American people? Tell me what that is. There isn't none. But what they do know is that having that power allows them to do a couple of things. One, if you're Mitch McConnell, you get to put forward Senate judicial nominees, right? And if you're Kevin McCarthy, you can finally achieve your boyhood dream and become Speaker of the House. To what end? There is no policy objective here. So having that power really is about then what? The grift. There's more money to be made when you have that power. It's a self-fulfilling cycle.
And I think that is the point. And Congressman, do Democrats, when you all are in your caucus, are you guys talking about this openly? Because it seems to me that Democrats keep saying they want to work with Republicans on this bill or this idea or that idea. Do y'all understand that all they want is to get more money, to grift more money off of people who have been suckered into worshiping Donald Trump, and to use their power to suppress votes, stop anyone from ever voting them out? Do Democrats really understand what they're facing here?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the first bill we did was H.R. 1 to try to preserve our democracy. But Kevin McCarthy is in a fight to gain power, as Michael just explained. And the truth be damned, they've now tried to rewrite history about January 6th. They refuse to support a bipartisan commission so the American people will know all of the circumstances surrounding it. They're allowing anti-Semites and white supremacists to say and do things in their party because they see their path to power through these folks. And it's really, if you have to wonder what they're going to do with that power, look what they did when they had it in the last 4 years. They gave a big, gigantic tax cut to the richest people in this country and the biggest, most profitable corporations at the expense of working people. And so I don't think there's any doubt what they're going to do with this. They're going to serve the special interests. They're going to serve the interests of the former president, not the people of this country. And Kevin McCarthy ought to call on Marjorie Taylor Greene to apologize. He ought to expel her from the Republican caucus and take a stand against this anti-Semitic, horrific behavior of this person.
And he's not going to do that, Michael. He's not going to. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do it. I mean, you've got Rand Paul on the other side, on the Senate side, saying, "I'm not going to get vaccinated." They can't even control their own members. He's not going to do that. And so my question is: does Kevin McCarthy at some point lose steam just because of his lack of? It's prime time, but I'll still say chicharrones. The fact that he has nothing, no strength, no courage.
Joy, lose steam. You're presuming there is steam. I mean, this is the great ruse here. Kevin McCarthy is hell bent on becoming speaker. Oh, well, okay. Have you talked to Donald Trump about that? Because that may not necessarily how that will play out. You are just a pawn in this little puppet show, baby. All right. You will carry that water. You will bend the knee and anything else you need to bend to get where you think you're going to go. And once you get there, guess what Donald Trump does in 2022? He goes, oh, I really think, Congressman so-and-so who's been a good lawyer. I mean, look at this. Mitch McConnell says, I'm not going to, placate this desire to have a commission, right? In thinking that's what Donald Trump just called him a biatch last week, right? I mean, there's no win here for these guys. That's the part that is so mind-numbingly stupid, is that there is no upside. You're doing all of this to what end? The country suffers, the party is decimated, and you look like a fool, or better put, an ass.
Yeah.
And so the reality of it is, what's your end game, Kevin? Because if you think you're going to get the caucus whipped up behind you, you better talk to those folks in the Freedom Caucus. You'd better have a direct conversation with the Trump family, because all of this bending the knee is not going to necessarily bend you in the right direction.
And Congressman, I guess I'll give you the last word on this, because as you see the Republican Party morph closer to open white nationalism, racism, anti-democratic activity, basically throwing the idea of democracy out the window, and this open anti-Semitism, that's not a political party, right? It's something fascistic, but it's not a political party. How do Democrats respond to that? Go on.
Yeah, it's very dangerous, and we need a functioning Republican Party that can challenge our ideas, that can put forth their own ideas. This is a party now being controlled by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the former president. That is not a party with a vision for the country, and it's ultimately going to self-destruct. In the meantime, we're going to keep fighting to respond to this pandemic, to respond to the economic devastation it's caused, to show to the American people there's at least one political party that's paying attention to the needs of the American people and offering real solutions.
Yeah, just wait till look, Democrats better fight like hell not to lose the House. But if they do, watch Donald Trump say, I want Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the speaker, because she's the one who's really with me, not you, Kevin. Because, Kevin, no one respects you, not even the orange guy. Nobody.
That's right.
Congressman David Cicilline, thank you very much. Michael Steele, my friend, thank you very much.